Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here at 100 Yards Football. Today, our video is on the 2024 NFL Draft Prospect, Mr. Malik Nabers out of Louisiana State University. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. I'd like to give special thanks to my producer today who's making it happen. I call him the best in the business. They're very talented, Mr. Logan Landers. And our guest to break down this outstanding football player out of LSU. All I can say, he's the best is doing this at the highest level. And the gentleman, what I would say is like a Phil Collins tonight of the 2024 NFL Draft. He's coming to us live out of Key West, Florida, by way of Minneapolis, Minnesota, the very talented Daniel Kelly. So if you like the video, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here at 100 Yards of Football. Mr. Daniel Kelly, tell us about Malik Nabers.
Absolutely, Mr. Turner. It's great being on your show as always. It's always fun. And we got a lot to talk about when it comes to Malik Nabers. There you see on your screen, number 8, 6'0", 200 pounds. And I say this like I just keep beating on this drum, okay, is that everything I do on my draft website, firstroundmock.com, is predicated on the game film. Same thing when I wrote for Sports Illustrated, same thing when I've written for Yardburger, same thing when I've written for just a host of different publications over the years, is that all my takes are predicated upon the game film. What does this guy look like in pads? Not in shorts running around little orange cones during the drills. What does he look like on game said? In 2022, I watched 7 games and evaluated 7 games of Malik Nabers. And then in 2023, I evaluated Nabers against Alabama, Mississippi State, Arkansas, FSU, Ole Miss, Missouri, Florida, and Grambling State. So I have looked at, in totality, 15 games on Malik Nabers. And that's what scouting is all about. You're not looking for the one-off. You're looking at a sustained pattern of tendencies and behaviors that show up on the game film, and then you take those things and then you look at what's worked in the NFL and you project it into the NFL based on what's been proven to succeed. So with Malik Nabers, okay, a guy is loaded with God-given ability. I want to make that real clear up front. Much like Jamar Chase was when he was coming out of LSU. As a matter of fact, there's a correlation between Malik Nabers and Jamar Chase more than the fact that they wore the same helmet in college. Nabers is one of these more challenging evaluations I've done because he has all the elite traits that you look for, but they don't always show up on the game film. They don't always translate, if that makes sense. For every wow play, okay, there's a couple of passes where it's become a consistent pattern where Malik Nabers loses interest or focus on what he's doing. Or his route running becomes undisciplined looking on the game film. Occasionally he's just not at the anticipated spot where the quarterback expects him to be, or he'll drop one that he shouldn't. What I mean by that is also, I'm not a stat scout. Okay, I get accused of that a lot on social media. I'm not a stat scout, but I will say this, as I was talking about at the top of the show, stats are a piece of the puzzle. Okay, stats do sometimes help to confirm the evaluation, what the player is showing on film. What do I mean by that? Well, let's look at Malik Nabers' catch rate. Okay, 2021 catch rate 60.9%. 2022, it jumps up to 72.8%. But in 2023, catch this, no pun intended, it drops down to 68.4%. So there was a little drop off in focus this year on that showed up on game film. And that's where I correlate Malik Nabers to a Jamar Chase. I wrote a report for NFL Draft Diamonds about Jamar Chase coming out, gave him a first-round grade, but my headline, and I'm reading this right off the screen, is Jamar Chase an underachiever? There is some of that, believe it or not, to Malik Nabers, and that's where I draw the correlation. But at the same time, I'm not terribly concerned because when you look at Jamar Chase's productivity over the last 3 seasons, the guy has gone viral on the football field, right? The guy's exploded on the football field. You're looking at a guy who's logged 81 catches in 2021, 87 catches in 2022, and 100 catches in 2023. So he's off to just a giant start to his NFL career with the Cincinnati Bengals. So I don't want to get carried away about it because the good does outweigh the bad with Malik Nabers. And let me say this, okay? Let's not get this lost in the rest of the words I'm saying right now, but he easily may turn out to be the most explosive wide receiver in this entire draft class when it's all said and done and the dust settles on the football field. Hey, listen, the greats make it look easy, and when Nabers is on, okay, when the light switch goes on and he's on his game, he makes it look easy. This is a guy in your screen there, number 8 for LSU, that easily achieves route leverage. What do I mean? That's a wide receiver's ability to gain positional advantage against a cornerback that he's matched up against. So quick inside move, achieves route leverage, creates a nice throwing window for the quarterback to throw into, and he can complete the pass. This guy, Malik Nabers, is a master of double moves. Okay, he can leave corners in the dust. A double move goes up, go deep, okay? And get the cornerback just to stop and drop for a second, and then he flies past him and has separation. That is Malik Nabers in a nutshell. If you look at what he is, in summary, he's a master of double moves. Crisp change of direction. What I'm talking about is fluidity in the hips. And that's why I would talk. I'm sitting in an NFL war room on a team as a scout, and it comes my turn to talk. This guy can change direction quickly at route breakpoints, which, of course, is a point where the receivers change direction in the route tree. This guy has that ability to change direction very crisply, and that gives him even more separation real quick and creates a throwing window for the quarterbacks to throw into. Hey, turn up the volumes. This is fun to talk about. Malik Nabers has devastating speed and acceleration on game film. He excels at the deep game. Nabers fits a team perfectly who's looking to add an additional explosive component to their offense. And they also need a quarterback that has elite ability to place the ball downfield. But hey, listen, teams like the Jaguars, the Rams, or even the Bengals. That's right. The Bengals could come back and add this guy to the Jamar Chase thing, and look out, because I don't think that any team in the NFL has 2 corners that could keep up with Jamar Chase and Malik Nabers. When you drill down and you really look at the positives and the negatives on this guy, let's start with the positives. He is dynamic. My NFL mentor, a man with 4 Super Bowl rings, who used to be a college scouting director in the NFL, also a director of player personnel, had told me over the 20 years I spent thousands of hours with him on the phone. He said to me, Danny, and he was one of the only people in the world who were allowed to call me Danny. But Danny, stick with the dynamic ones. And that's Malik Nabers. He's dynamic. That's the word you want to hear when you're talking about first-round talent. That's a game changer, difference maker. He's got a muscular frame. He uses that frame to box out corners and gain a positional advantage when the ball's coming his direction. Long arms, important. That gives him a natural, nice catch radius. In other words, the area of the circumference in which he can reach the football when it's in the air. Versatility, pre-snap. This is a guy who normally lines up out wide, but he can slip into the slot and match up that way too. He works all 3 route levels out there in the football field: short, intermediate, and deep. The short to intermediate level is about 0 to 19 yards or deeper than that. This dude, point blank, it just explodes in the secondaries when you watch him on game film. If you go to my website, firstroundmock.com, pull up Malik Nabers' his report, you can watch the film for yourself. We try to bring fans into the experience and bring draftniks into the experience. You can click on the film and actually watch this and not just take somebody's word like mine for it. You can watch Malik Nabers explode into secondaries. He just launches into secondaries. And he also, another nice thing about Malik Nabers is he works back to the quarterback when the quarterback is in trouble, under a lot of pressure. He doesn't just run the route to be oblivious of what's going on back behind the line of scrimmage. He looks back at his quarterback. He works back to the quarterback. That's a very very important characteristic of a wide receiver in an NFL offense. He's a decent blocker as well. And what are the negatives? Yep, there are negatives. Like I said, the lapses of intensity and focus is the big one. That's something that comes with the package. That comes with Malik Nabers. It's all over his game film. It's spray painted all over his game film for 2 seasons. Inconsistent at catching 50-50 balls. Those are the jump balls when quarterbacks throw it up and, just go get it, like Randy Moss used to go get it for Dante Culpepper with the Minnesota Vikings. Inconsistent catching 50-50 balls. And he can get out muscled at times despite his muscular frame. Sometimes he gets knocked off his routes, and I don't understand why, because he's strong enough not to, but he does. And really, at the end of the day, to summarize, it's real. We can, it's like Bill Belichick used to say to my scouting mentor in different meetings, we're in a bottom line business. And the bottom line of Malik Nabers is he is his own worst enemy on game film. My wide receiver 3 in a loaded class of wide receivers this year in the 2024 NFL draft. And yes, I've signed off on it. I've given a first-round grade. Your thoughts on Malik Nabers, Mr. Turner?
When I think about Malik Nabers, I think about in his first year as a starting wide receiver, the opening game against Florida State, where he fumbled 2 punts in that game and really came under a lot of criticism. There was a lot of people saying, will this young man be able to step up and be a position player like all the other great LSU players that's played the wide receiver position? And then seemingly he bounced back at a high level. Now think about this at LSU. You've had Nick Saban as the head coach, Charlie McClendon, Les Miles, El Orgeron, and Brian Kelly. In that wide receiver position at LSU, I'm going to start calling it wide receiver U going to the NFL. Now think about all those great coaches that's coached there and the receivers that came out of their history long. Let's start with Carlos Carson, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Wendell Davis, Michael Clayton, Dwayne Bowe, Early Doucette, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase, clearly 2 of the top 5 receivers in the game right now. And that young man playing that position at that school still performed at the high level. First team All-American, first team All-SEC, which I still consider the greatest conference in college football. Then I want to look what he done this year. 86 receptions, 1,546 yards, 14 touchdowns. And I go back the game film against Alabama, where Alabama got allegedly 2 first-round corners, Tyron Arnold and Kool-Aid McKenzie. And what did he do? He did like this. As we say in the neighborhood, he started to eat. And he ate that night, going over 100 yards receiving in the first half. So the competition to me is not that big for him. But what I admire about him, the pressure, he being at LSU and all that talent that's carried that tradition at the wide receiver. And then I look at his ability. At 6', 200 pounds, the freaking sort of ability, people say he got a 40-inch vertical. And then when the combine comes up next week, he's going to run at least a 4.443. And he's built as a receiver at 6', 200 pounds, and he got a little bit of Eric Mose. You ain't feeling me, DK, that played at Mississippi State, that was rocking with the Buffalo Bills.
Absolutely.
He got a little bit of Anthony Morgan, who played at Tennessee, that went in the league, was a guy built just like Malik Nabers. Then he got a little bit of that national championship blood in him, Prairie Tuttle, that played at Clemson. They had a good career with the Buffalo Bills. And then, of course, Mr. Malik Nabers reminds me of this student right here, Nebraska Cornhusker, Mr. Irvin Fryer, who was on that 84 Nebraska team. Can I say Mike Rozier, Turner Gill? And this gentleman right here, he got a little bit of Deebo Samuel element. He might not be as physical as Deebo Samuel, but he's productive. When it's all said and done, I've seen a lot of great offensive players come through the SEC, which I consider the greatest conference in all of football. That's what I grew up on. I've seen Archie Manning come in this league in the SEC and do his thing. I saw Johnny Musso come in the league and do his thing in the SEC. I saw Willie Gault. I saw Riedel Anthony. Willie Gault at Tennessee, Riedel Anthony at Florida. Wilbur Jackson at Alabama. Herschel Walker at Georgia. Billy Cannon. I wasn't born then, but we know about the Halloween when he returned that punt 89 yards, still a lord in history in LSU football. Then Garrison Hurst that played at Georgia, and of course Bo Jackson that played at Auburn. This gentleman has the same type of explosive offensive capabilities when them gentlemen played in the SEC. I love the young man Malik Nabers because last year, the first game, opening up with Florida State, in his first year to see, he fumbled 2 punts in that game and was able to bounce back that and had an outstanding career at LSU. Can I say it one more time? 186 receptions, 2,983 yards, 21 touchdowns, first team All-American, first team All-SEC. We're seeing a very special football player that's going to play at a high level, and he's going to continue that tradition at LSU. Can I say their names again? Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. Malik Nabers is going to be in that same conversation. Back to you, Mr. Daniel Kelly.
I love it. I love what you have had to say there, Mr. Turner. I mean, what a treasure chest full of history from college football, and how that ties in is very important. And I think you have some great points because yes, the elephant in the room. Okay, Malik Nabers is somewhat of an underachiever, but before I get carried away with that, he's able to overcome that because of how good he really is, and he shines in the big moments, and that's huge. I mean, we're talking about a receiver that was looking at NCAA.com right now, was the ranked number 2 in the country next to Roman Duze. I mean, Nabers had 1,569 yards receiving this last season. This guy, he gets open. He knows how to get open. You don't just do that. You don't roll to bed and just do that by accident. And really, this is important to grab a hold of too. In conclusion, is that we need to understand, and this is what I look at. Where is the NFL game trending? What direction is it trending? Okay, well, I look at the game and I go on teamrankings.com and I see that 31 out of 32 NFL teams throw the ball more than 50% of the time. 7 of those teams, including the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, throw more than 60% of the time. This game is about 2 things. This isn't the game that you and I grew up with, Vince, where it was 3 yards in a cloud of dust and running backs were taken in the first round, a lot of them. This is a different game. This is about passing the ball, and this is about stopping the pass. That's really what it's about. It's about quarterbacks. It's about receivers. It's about elite tight ends. It's about edge rushers, and it's about corners who can cover these guys. Okay, receivers are really the second biggest part of that equation to me next to quarterbacks because they're the ones who move the ball. What does that mean? If you're an NFL team and you're listening to this and you're contemplating where you should go and how you should value these players in your draft board, you got to look at the guys that can move the ball downfield and get open. Look what a Jamar Chase has done for this Cincinnati Bengals. Look at with Joe Burrow. Look at what a Justin Jefferson, you alluded to, Mr. Turner, has done for the Minnesota Vikings with Kirk Cousins. These are elite game-changing wide receivers. You bring a guy in like this, he changes the complexity of your offense. He's a difference maker in that regard. So if you're an NFL team that's looking to move the meter, look no further than Malik Nabers.
I'd like to give special thanks to our very talented producer today, Mr. Logan Landers, for making it happen. My final words about Malik Nabers: the pressure he had at LSU to continue that tradition at the wide receiver position is very special. So I'm going to say it very shortly and very seriously. He's going to be an immediate impact in the NFL. And very thanks to our guest today, the very talented, I'm going to call him the Phil Collins of the 2024 NFL Draft. Tonight, Mr. Daniel Kelly. We'd like to say thank you here on 100 Yards of Football.
Thank you. And I hope the Bears heard this show.